Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, Common Magician. I've got something interesting to show you. I've got a deck of cards here. I'll have you shuffle this up, and as you're shuffling, I want you to think of any card in the deck, and you can just take that out. Any one you're thinking of, just take it out. Say you're thinking of that one right there. You take it out. Make sure you show it to everybody else. Once you're clear that you know what you want and everybody else knows what you want, I don't know what you want, we'll just return it. We'll return it to the deck. We'll give it a good shuffle. Now, it's really important that we verify that this is, in fact, a shuffled deck. So what we'll do is we'll just give it a quick table wash. Make sure all the cards are in completely different positions. And what I want to do is very interesting. What I want you to do is I want you to take control, because if I do this, it'll be highly suspect. If you would, just hold your hand out, take the cards. You take the cards, and what I want you to do is I want you to deal the cards from the top, but we need a place to deal to. Someone name a number. So let's say they name a number. Oh, I've got a couple dice here. Let's say they named their, I can't use 55. 25. Say 25. So go ahead and deal the cards one at a time into my hand. 1, 2, go ahead and continue. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then this is 25. So these are 25 cards. You had a card you were thinking of. In fact, this one right here is the 25th card. We have all of these other cards. This would be actually 1 through 24, and then these cards would be 26 through 52. But this is the 25th card from a deck that you shuffled. You freely thought of the card. You freely chose the number. You dealt the cards. And we arrive at the Ace of Hearts at 25. So this is a quick discussion about getting control of thought of cards, getting control of a thought of card. And there's going to have to be procedure involved in that. Now, it's no coincidence that I'm looking at this today. If you've not heard, yesterday evening was the passing of David Berglas. And he died, I think he was 97, I believe is what it was. So, and this is obviously, you know, any card at any number is very much a part of his body of work. And the Berglas effect, which was a very kind of nuanced presentation of this. We've talked about any card at any number. It's an obsession. It's an obsession of mine and of many other magicians, I'm sure. And what we're looking at here is this one element of the Berglas effect type of presentation of any card at any number, and that is the ability to freely think of a card, a freely thought of card, a named card. Now, this is going to be a little different from how magicians would like to have a freely thought of card. Or, you know, a magician would like to freely think of a card, not say what it is, speak it at the last moment, and then there it is. Obviously, there needs to be some element of control. Even if there is a perceived layer of possibility of control, I posit that having spectators name cards or think of a choice rather than picking one blindly is much more refreshing from the perspective of an audience participant. When you say card trick, people automatically think of pick a card. That's what they think of. They think of spreading cards out, and then a card is picked blindly from the spread, or is selected in such a way. Whereas what we're doing here is we're allowing the spectator to conceive of an identity, and then from all of the choices, they control the identity for a brief moment, and then we attempt to nullify any element of control, and we randomize the outcome. What the any card at any number plot does is it further emphasizes a lack of control in the free selection of a number. Now, obviously, in all of these things can be forced, right? We could have a freely thought of card and then a forced number. But in this kind of approach, things are really free. They're really thinking of an identity before anything happens. They're really thinking of a number on the spot. The cards really are out of control. They're the ones dealing the cards. It seems pretty fair. Certainly not to magicians, but I think to spectators. If you want to just kind of take your typical approach to this effect and take it up a notch, these are some ideas that you can use. So how do we get control of a freely thought of card? There's a few. I'm going to give you 3 possibilities, and this is one in the demonstration. Number 1 is a misheard named card, right? Now, this is not quite as strong because it will require the magician, the performer, to obviously know ahead of time what the free selection is, but it is still a free selection. That works something like this. It would say, you have 52 very different cards in the deck. You've got different colors. You've got black, you've got red, you've got 4 different suits. You've got spades, hearts, clubs, and diamonds. You've got 13 different identities among those, a lot of options. Go ahead and name any card that you're thinking of. Oh, and I want you to understand, you really do have a free choice in here, right? And all of the cards are present in the deck. That's really important. What was the card you were thinking of? The six of spades? 6 of spades? All right, very good. What we're going to do is I want to make sure that the cards are indeed completely shuffled, okay? So if you watch, I'm going to shuffle the cards, and you can see that they are indeed interlaced, right? You can see that. And they fall together, completely fair, right? I want you to take the cards right here. So this is, I'm now set up with their card on the top. This is a misheard approach. What you're doing is you're laying, we've talked about this before in terms of control. You're laying the cards out at the onset so that everything is seen by you and by them. And you justify this because you demonstrate the variety of choice within a deck of cards, that there's 52 exclusively different identities that one can choose from, and that justifies this open spread. They name something, and at the moment they name it and you catch what it is, you immediately talk over them. So they might say something like, I'm not going to look at this, they might say something like 2 of diamonds. And right as they say 2 of diamonds, before they're even done saying it, if I can be that quick, I say, and it's important to recognize that you have every single card here in the deck. Is that right? You've got everything? And what I've done is I've done a spread shift. I go up to approximately where the 2 of diamonds is, maybe a little bit ahead of it. I pinch down on the cards, I break it, and then I place the cards above that to the top. And that gets my 2 of diamonds to the top, right? Now, if I know that I'm close but I'm not on it, one thing that you can do is run overhand the top cards. Run about 4 or 5 or 6 of them, however, whatever the margin is you think. And then, whenever you go to run the cards again, as you ask them, what was the card you were thinking of? You run the cards from the face until you hit the card that was named. And then you put it on the bottom and then run that one card to the top. So you can get a face-up control that's out of view from them as you're looking down as they name the card again. And now you're in a situation where I don't really have open control of the cards. I'm just shuffling them, and they name the card, and it's as if I'm getting it for the first time. And I acknowledge it for the first time. The 2 of, what was it, diamonds? You might even ask again for clarification after you're in this position, okay? So that is the misheard strategy. They name a card, you get control in opportune time, maybe from the pretense of having an open spread to explain variety, but you have otherwise the ability to get control on something that they're naming, but you mishear it. You ask for clarification later, maybe twice, maybe 2 of hearts, diamonds, right? You muddle up the idea that you have the information, and you create a moment later, just seconds later, where you verify that you do have the information at this moment when you don't have control. And now you're ready to go on with the remaining method that you want to use. So the misheard, right? Now again, this has the unfortunate liability in that you know the identity at the onset. This can be done in such a way where you actually don't even know the identity, but you still get control over a thought of card. And the way this is done is that you allow them to do part of the control. If they remove the card from the deck and they get it separated from the deck, now you're in a situation where you're in a pick a card, a freely fair pick a card kind of scenario, right? Only they're not picking a card, they thought of it and then they picked it out. So adding this layer allows you to get geographic control. If I'm in this position, any magician that knows most anything basic about controlling cards can handle this. This is a really good place to be. I don't have to know what it is. I just have to have it separate from here. Once I have it separate from there, now I've got total control because there's a million ways to integrate this back into the deck in a convincing way, so as to portray that it is shuffled. There's even, we'll talk about at the end here, there's even ways in which you can integrate it in the deck and let them shuffle the cards and then still have control over it, and we'll address that too. So one way to do this is to give them the cards and have them shuffle the cards. It's irrelevant that they're shuffling the cards because I'm going to do some control. But if I let them shuffle the cards, well, then that becomes something I can point back to in my recap. I can say, remember, you shuffled the cards. Good deck that you shuffled. I can say that. If they've done it, I can say it later on. They shuffle the cards. I say, no, go ahead and spread. And they're spreading the cards. I said, take out one card that you're thinking of. And they take out a card they're thinking of. Let's say it's going to be this one, the Jack of Hearts, right? And I say, go ahead and hold on to that. Show it to everybody else. And you take. You don't say, give me the cards. You just reach out, take the rest of the deck. They show the cards, and now I'm in this situation, right? I can do anything. I could place it into the deck and make a big show of the fact that it's going into the middle. And of course, I could just cull it out to the bottom, right? I could do something like that and get control that way. I prefer actually these days to do something a whole lot more open. I take it and I throw it on the top. And of course, it's on the top. It's not integrated, but I just do a jog shuffle. A jog shuffle is very convincing. I take off the bottom half, I jog off the first card, in-jog it, I shuffle fairly on top, very sloppily, and then I pick up at the jog, and then I shuffle again, and it brings it back to the top, right? And then you could do something like this, which I demonstrated a moment ago. If you have control of the card on the top, you could do an in the hands riffle shuffle where you just maintain that card on the top and you point to another fact of the shuffle that you're driving home, and that is that the cards are indeed interlaced. You can all see that. And you can see that they fall together. Yes, this is a fairly shuffled deck. Here, you take the cards. So now I've controlled it to the top. I've shuffled the cards again in a verifiable way. I'm giving control over to them, and I don't have control over it. So it's a freely thought of card. I don't even know the identity. It's integrated into the deck. They know it's fair. They know it's shuffled. They shuffled it first. They freely thought of it. There was no force involved, and I actually have control. Now, in terms of methodology from here, what I did in the example was I have them deal the cards into my hand. Now, whenever I do risky things like this, because you always run the risk of them turning the card over when they deal, because that can be a perceived way of responding to the direction to deal cards. What I do is when they hold it, I reach out and I take the first one and I put it in my hands. I want you to deal cards into my hand and count them. 1, 2, and so on. In fact, can you name a number? Now I'm 2 up. I say, go ahead, you continue. 3, 4, and I've put it into my hand. Now I have control on the bottom. Really quick on this reveal, let's say they've got some cards there. The reveal in this case was a bottom deal, and I push over the top card. I just very briskly and directly and with forward motion, I point out this is the 20 blah blah card, whatever it was that they said, while I get my break on the bottom card and I'm ready to do a bottom deal. I reach over, full hand coverage, I reach over, I grab the bottom card, I push it down. Whenever I do this kind of thing, lately I've been trying to focus on this motion. I reach over to grab the bottom card as if it's the top. I pull back the top card as normal, giving a lot of coverage here. And when I set it down, I put my finger on it. And this kind of creates the illusion of doing this kind of motion, like you're sliding the card off with your finger to the table. It just adds a little bit more of a convincing kind of arrangement here, a convincing kind of contact that is not actually present. This is actually the blah blah card, right? And we'll put that right here. These would be cards 1 through whatever. These would be cards over this through 52. And you were thinking of the blah 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 at the blah blah blah, the blah blah blah. Okay, so that is the rest of the method. So there's the second one. Take the cards, shuffle them. You're thinking of a card, take one out. Thought of card that I get control of, and then put into a place of my choosing, and then I can go on with any method that I want right there. Real quick on that, if I have it on the top and they've dealt the cards into my hand, Ace of Diamonds, they've dealt a chunk of cards into my hands. There is a demonstration from this point which can be even more direct than that. And that is to say, that's 25 cards and you were thinking of the what? And then you show it over and then that's it. This is actually from Anneman's 202 Methods of Forcing, believe it or not. So many of you will look at this and say, nah, that won't work. Well, it works. It does work pretty well. It's a force of the top card after dealing down cards, and then you show the actual top card as the bottom, as if it's from that break. Years ago, when I was looking at any card at any number and demonstrating methods, I put one on the channel. This got flamed huge. But what I did is I had them deal into the hand like this, and then what I do is I spread them so that they're spreading away from the deck, and I say, and down at the whatever position we have the blank. So you're creating a reversed geography of the actual situation. They actually dealt the top card to that position, and I've spread it from here as if it's at the position, even though they did an automatic placement, a reversal to that place, and then I show that card. Believe it or not, this works quite well, especially if you have a very dynamic environment. A lot of people flame that one. I mean, you put it on video on YouTube and everyone says, that's stupid. No one would ever fall for that. Plenty of people fall for that. It works really well. Again, it needs to be a dynamic situation where there's a lot of conversation, movement, maybe even a little bit of a distracting kind of environment, like if you were in a restaurant or something like that. This is not the kind of thing that you do in a very silent, very serious, very focused moment. Okay? As an aside, I love doing magic for people that are heavily distracted, because it makes my job easy. Okay. Whenever you have distracted people, I encourage you to take advantage of it. There's one side of performing where people really despise distracted spectators, or the fact that they are that they're distracted. Not them. They don't despise them. They despise their condition, right? That they are distracted. And that's because, hey, I'm doing something for you. Can you pay attention to me? Like, I'm trying to explain this. As a teacher, right, you can get this feeling, hey, class, pay attention. I'm trying to teach you something. I need your attention right here. That is true. That is very vital for performance, to have someone's attention. You don't want them to miss things, especially when you're trying to go through proofs and you want them to see the proof. You really need them to see the proof. However, anything unrelated to the proofs that you're doing, if they're distracted, more power to you, right? If you have distracted spectators, take full advantage of that. All of a sudden, doing a shift is a walk in the park when the spectator is distracted. So that's when you lay your shift in. That's when you do the dirty stuff that is really, really bold. Do bold stuff with distracted spectators. Anyway, enough of that. So that's the second one. They take it out themselves. The third one is kind of a hybrid between the two. You spread out the cards like that, and you say, you can see you have all of these identities. You're thinking of a card. I'm going to turn my back. Go ahead and slide out the card you're thinking of. They slide out the card they're thinking of, which in this case is going to be the 5 of Diamonds. I say, go ahead and why don't you close up the rest of the cards, close up the spread, turn them over on the table, and you have them do all the procedure. Go ahead and show that to everybody else, and make sure I'm not looking at it, and then you turn around, and now they're stuck. now you're looking at the situation where they have the card in hand, you have the deck right here, and now you're free to take the card back and do whatever you want with it to lose it, okay? In fact, you can show around one more time, throw it on top. You can do any kind of, gambling sorts of controls to get rid of the card, whatever you want to do. And really, you've just kept the control on the top. You can close off with a false cut, whatever. Any kind of lame brain controls that are perfectly adequate. And I highly encourage people to do those kinds of controls because it gives you confidence, right, to do things that are easy, that still work. So you do any kind of control that you want. You don't have to be very elaborate about it, but now you're in a good place. And they take the cards back, and you're in the same place you were before. So spread, think of a card, let me turn, go ahead, take it out. You thought of it. Go ahead and close up the spread. Show that card around to everybody. Make sure I don't see it. Turn around. They're stuck in the situation, right? And then you take the card back, and then you replace it any way that you want. So, 3 ways to control a thought of card. You have them name it, you mishear, you control it, you get clarification, it's already controlled, it doesn't matter, right? And it kind of sets up a hole in space-time there that doesn't exist. You actually knew the identity and you were able to get control. Second, you have them take it out. You have them control the card. You have them think of a card, they remove it from the deck one of 2 ways, either themselves or from an open spread, and then you reintegrate it into the deck through a shuffle, and then you go from there. So those are the ways to do it. Last thing is, how about giving them a layer of control in addition to all of this? So I've got control of their card, in this case the Jack of Clubs, right? If I get the card to the bottom in my shuffling, I can say, in fact, would you like to shuffle? And I can just cop the card out, hand the cards over, and say, go ahead and give them a really, really good shuffle. This hand can go right down to the side, right? If I'm at a table, it can just sit right here. I don't have to think about it. They shuffle the cards, you take the cards back, you reintegrate the card, you say, great. So you shuffled the cards, everything's on the up and up. Can you please take the cards? And then I want you to deal from there. Or whatever method you want to take, but that's a way to maintain control. Simple copying of the card. Give them the opportunity. Would you like to shuffle? In fact, you can be here and say, would you like to shuffle the cards? It's already on top. They say yes, and at that point, I can say, fine, here, you go ahead and shuffle. I've just shuffled it down, and I've got a solid break on it directly from the overhand shuffle, so I don't have to get a break. And then I can square the deck and cop it in, and then they can take the cards and shuffle and do what they want. So copying the card out or palming the card out, another way to give them a layer from control from a thought of card. A lot to talk about there. So that's a way to do this kind of thing, really in an impromptu setting. I highly encourage thought of cards. I've said this 1,000 times, not 1,000, but probably close to maybe 50. I've said this a lot, that I think that having the spectator name a card or think of card in any trick that will permit such an acquisition of information is good, because I think it's far more refreshing for card magic from the viewpoint of a spectator. Otherwise, it will seem like an I've seen this before kind of trick right at the onset. So that's what I've got for you on more of this, any card, any number. But this is applicable to a lot of things. I mean, this is applicable to really any trick where you just need an identity. Have them do it. Oh, quick thing on notes. The removal of the card, a thought of card, is not. It's a logical end, but actually probably one of the first places I saw this, and I thought, that's a really good way to deal with thought of cards. It was Dan Harlan's ACAN. Functions on part of it. Functions on that. So he has any card at any number at any time, or so. I can't remember what it was, but he uses that so that he can. What he's trying to do in his version is he's trying to create the ability. Obviously, it works on pre-show, and the pre-show is this procedure. But he wants to have the ability to get to this where the cards are in the spectator's hands. He's sitting here like this talking about what's going to happen, and he's saying, you're thinking of a card and I can't possibly know what it is. Is that right? And that is right, because he doesn't know. They thought of the card and reintegrated it into the deck earlier. And you're thinking of a number and I can't possibly know what it is. Is that right? In fact, I don't know what it is. And I don't have the cards. The cards are sitting right there. Is that right? And what he does is he has an automatic placement procedure that he does. And that's really powerful, to engineer a situation where you can get to that post pre-show moment where the procedure's been done of selection and now you're at the trick, and you can actually validly say, in a way, in front of your spectators, I don't know what you're thinking, and I don't know what you're thinking, and I'm not touching the cards. This is really out of my control. That's what he was after. So that concept of having the spectator think of a card and remove it, that comes from that's where I kind of saw it first, and I started thinking about this as a really true, valid way of using thought of cards in effect. So that's my one piece of credit. And then the Annemann thing that we talked about. So anyway, that's it. That's what I got for you. Long video, haven't been on here in a while. Hopefully you enjoy this and it gets you thinking, and you have some maybe some things to say about this. Leave them in the comment section, and good luck with that. Happy magicking.